I made a right pig's ear of asking about safety. I'm like,
No. I think.
See, you got your job title wrong. I got my actual job wrong.
We're quite nerdy in terms of keep staring at signs and feel quite happy that that was sign. I worked on that sign.
Now, we were speaking about those treks and the challenges. I think if you're, on a Sunday morning, if you're 9,000 foot up Mount Olympus with a load of lads from the factory, there are no, you're strapped in with each other with your helmets on and everything else. There are no barriers. You've got to. You're talking about team building. You're in it together, aren't you? Difficult. I know. Before COVID, Santos was like, we were doing something with the computers, and he said, "Oh, we should all get onto Teams." And I thought, "Oh, Santos, go and fit with your wires in the other workshop." I just thought, it's just we don't need all that. He goes, "Oh, it's good for sharing documents." I said, "Oh, Santos, you leave it to us." And then you realise, how do we ever live without Teams? And so I don't think we were quite that rude, but it's just adopting new technology, isn't it? And so yeah, I don't know.
Do you find that with your tech that almost like just a resistance to change because it's not like the way it's always been done? Because I get that a lot across like my client base in all kinds of different realms of this sector. Just like people not being willing to go like, yeah, right, we'll give it a go, because they don't want to be the one that like change something that's always worked and risk it.
I mean, there's
having their name to it.
There is that, plus also, that we almost have to dumb down things to work with older control systems. So the product itself may be more advanced, more technologically advanced, can do more things, more functional, but we almost have to trim those functions off. And make it work with older systems. The problem is, the time or effort it takes to upgrade older systems is probably economically not feasible to do it as fast as we want.
I think the challenge is bigger organisations, whether it be London or National Highways or whoever. It's just harder for them to drive that change, and there's lots of consequences. There's lots of specifications to change, so it is tougher. I think for the smaller clients, they're quite dexterous and they can adopt really quite simply.
We found through just a couple of things over the years, like you say, getting sign off from someone, but they had to get sign off from someone, who had to get sign off from someone, who had to get sign off from someone. And before you know it, you're like 6, 9, 12 months along, and you just think, or to me, naively, probably think, you can't be that hard.
Yeah.
See it.
I think that we benefit from being an SME, don't we? We can get on, but when we got with big clients, they've got, to get a PO is hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, beyond hard work. I don't know, I've never, this obviously what I've ended up in, but like I've never known that up until like the last probably 2 years, like if we're speaking to someone about potentially working with us, I imagine it'll be the same with your sort of solutions, like people want to know about the solution. With them, like potential pitfalls and back-end support and future-proofing support and all the rest of it. They're sort of like selling phase, dare I say, and that's great, and someone decides we'd like to work with you. Like you say, just get in that order, just think.
But sometimes the longer it takes...
That would be the one thing I'd change about this industry on my questions, things around payment and orders.
But it does take a long time, but once you're in. Our 2 main clients, it took us a year to get them going, if not longer. But you just know you're in it for the long haul. If it was a 5-minute job to get in, you could be out in 5 as well. So
true.
I think the two,
good way to look at it.
We are in it for the long haul, and so it sort of works. It's not the end of the world for us. I guess if you're venture capitalist backed, you have to deliver that quarter every single time. We want to hit our targets, but not to the detriment of service or relationships or anything else like that. So we can take the long view, can't we? Which is just as well, really.
We're fortunate in that though, again, like we can sort of do the same thing because you're not answerable to a huge firm that need to see that number by that date in order to meet that growth plan to maybe sell in 6, 12, 18 months or...
I think that's probably why we've stayed as long as we have, haven't we?
True, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you just got involved in high speed, haven't you, with your latest... is this where we go to Santos and you say, Santos, tell them about it? How did that come about? Like, give me a bit of backdrop, because so you would have always been involved in like local roads.
Yeah. So we always had a strategy to work our way up the speeds. So working on faster and faster, higher speeds. So ultimately we want to get on the motorways, and we're building our technology and our range to suit that. So I think we launched it 2 years ago, didn't we? At Highways UK.
We did. I mean, we've always had products which went on lower speed roads, like 30 mile an hour and 40 mile an hour roads. It's just the same technology, but a bit more, more specified, more stringent in terms of build qualities or longevity of the products. And obviously, the biggest challenge is integrating into National Highways' existing infrastructure. So you can't just jump into that market. You have to sort of we've spent enough time on lower speed roads to understand the challenges, and I think we are now at the stage where we think we are ready for the motorway network.
So did you launch that tech 2 years ago? Forgive me if I word this badly. Almost knowing we're not ready for it yet, but we know we can do it, or was the finding out we can do it phase before the launch 2 years ago?
We knew we could do it, and we had the kit on display down in the factory in Redhill, but we just know the lead times are very, very long. So we've had an MS1 operational for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's just a question of getting the clients involved, getting on the tenders, getting on the frameworks, and working your way through.
Do you find that frustrating, that the lead time's that long, or do you just see it as I don't even want to say necessarily evil, but for want of a better way of putting it? It's
what it is, isn't it? I think, like I said before, we're building for the long term. So we've got a big unit down in Redhill, Surrey, and we've got the facility to be moving around these signs that are half the size of this building. So one side is the tech, the other side is the scale, but we're sort of setting ourselves up for it, or we have set ourselves up for it.
Was that site purpose built?
No.
Okay. You just got the luxury of a whopping great site that you can do it at.
Correct. Yeah.
Did you go in as MD on day one and think, okay, I can work with this?
I went in on day one and thought, blimey, this is far too big. There were actually 5 industrial units when I started, and we've shrunk down into 3. We did not need 5.
Yeah. Okay.
And we've got a lot of space. So we've got a lot of space for expansion, and we're on industrial estate. So if we win contracts that we hope to win, we'll probably extend again. But the challenge is filling the space in a commercially viable way. So we've probably got the biggest showroom in the UK, I would say, for highways products.
Isn't it? Or Pilates studio, isn't it?
It is, exactly, yeah. We do a bit of Pilates in there. Have you done Pilates, Santosh?
No, I'm not built for that.
Too busy. You can have a figure like mine.
Dad said to me once that you do Pilates out of there, and I thought she was like pulling my leg for a bit. And she's really not, is she? Because I saw her on LinkedIn, you have someone come in and do it.
Yeah.
Well, no, because they suggested Pilates, and I thought, oh God, whatever next? And then you realise I did Pilates, and it's just very, very good. So we do it, and there's, we do walks for some people, we do Pilates, we do litter picking, we do all manner. We eat bacon butties, we do all manner of different things, don't we, to engage our personnel, have a bit of fun, make it more interesting to turn up at work, sell a few signs.
I thought the Pilates thing was really cool. It's funny when you obviously meeting you properly today. You strike me as quite fun. That seems quite important to you, which I wouldn't have known about you before. Like, how do you, I guess, as MD, think, right, I want this to be a fun place and people enjoy it, but obviously, I know it's not like stringent targets like you just spoke about, but how do you mix the two? How do you make it fun for someone to turn up without thinking, bit of the playground?
I think you've got to, if you do well at your job and excel at your job, and you delight your customers, it's a joy, isn't it? If you and I play rugby, if you run around having fun on a rugby field, but you're getting, you're missing tackles, dropping the ball, it's not fun. You might be laughing, but probably people are laughing at you. So you've got to do your job really well and deliver a great service. and then you can have the fun. And we do have a bit of a chuckle, don't we? And I think it's respect. You've got to respect your colleagues, and the same back to sport is respecting who you're playing with. So to be fair, we respect everybody in the industry, don't we? We respect our colleagues, we respect our competitors, our clients, and Santosh and I do have a chuckle, but I think there's a fair level of mutual respect.
Yeah, I think even within our group of colleagues, I think everybody it's almost like a family, because I don't know the word, is it long turnaround time, or people who join the company stay for a long time.
Oh, okay, like
long
like
service.
retention.
Yeah, so I think everybody get to know each other. We do loads of activities. I think it's quite a nice place to be in the office. Although many of my friends and family now work from home and stuff. Everybody in our office, at least I think they enjoy coming into the office. And
it is like a family. We'll squabble occasionally, won't we?
Yeah.
But no, I think you've got to mix it up. People, you need clear direction of what you're doing, and you get on with your job, do your job well. But then it's time for a bacon sandwich at a company meeting, or a bit of Pilates, or climb up a mountain. So we enjoy it, don't we?
Yeah.
Good segue, because I'd said to you before, and to Daniela, about getting together to talk. It was the mountain climbing and the team stuff that really struck me as being a bit different with you folks to your dare I say, just sort of typical LinkedIn fodder of this is us, this is what we sell, this is who we are, this is our product, this is our service, yada yada yada, give us a call. Where did that all start to come about, of like, okay, let's do something that's a little bit out there or wild or beyond your typical, you mentioned litter picking, obviously there's nothing wrong with litter picking at all, but climbing mountains in Slovakia is a bit different to whizzing around your local neighbourhood. How did that all start?
We started with the Three Peaks Challenge probably 8 or 9 years ago, and then it's gently snowballed from that. So we've got our colleagues do it, we bring clients as well, or trade partners, some suppliers come. Dave Clode, our operations manager, runs the whole event. We've raised, I think we're raising close to £100,000 in all for various charities over the years, and it's great team building activities. We start training in February with head torches, yomping through the mud in Reigate. We find a hill that's called the Eiger, and we have great merriment in terms of going up and down the Eiger. But I don't know, you keep going back to sport. It's all about the team building. If you can have a happy team out on the hill, you're probably going to have a happy team back in the office. We've taken Santosh. Have you come on 2 trips, Santosh?
I have, yeah. Been support group, but yeah.
You walked in Ireland, didn't you?
Yeah, I started and finished, didn't do the middle bit.
That's why you said you need the brains, didn't you? It gets in the photos when you set off and the photos when you finish.
That's it, yeah.
And saves the work.
We were slightly broken. I think it was it must have been the second day. We were slightly broken, and we're waiting for the minibus to turn up. We're normally self-sufficient, and then the minibus turned up a bit late, and Santosh gets out. And I should really say, I've got my doddles in the middle of Ireland.
Yeah, I think that helped people walk on, because I think a warm burger did do the trick.
Tepid.
Yeah.
Calories, though, isn't it, at that point?
Exactly, yeah.
Just calories.
Yeah, that was a tough climb.
Are they quite, when you're away, like in the middle of those physical, are they quite social in that people, after a long day's trek or a long day's walk, sit down, chat and all the rest of it, or is everyone just zonked and straight to bed? Like, is it very social?
Too social, I'd say.
No, that was Ireland. I think normally you get there the first night, you walk up to the top of a hostel that night, and then the next morning you're generally out of bed or out of whatever you're on, a floor at 3:30 in the morning, go to the peak, and then you go all the way down the next day. So we always have a few drinks, but there's a lot of early nights, to be fair. It is hard going, and the older you get,
3:30.
You're up out of bed at 3:30, 4, because you want to get up to the peak for sunrise, and so it is quite challenging. But we've taken people from all different shapes and sizes, all ages, up there. I think I might be the oldest this year, so I could be lagging at the back.
You're more than welcome next year. It sounded good until you said get up at 3:30.
Yeah,
Now I'm not too.
No, you like it.
Now I'm not so sure. I'm not a mornings person, me.
Last year we had 2 Royal Marines on that trip, and they were quite helpful. They were good.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, no, they were
And,
good.
Desert Island Dave, as I'm now going to call him, seeing as though he'd be your,
Yeah, no, he's good.
seeing as though he'd be your man, yeah.
I think most of us would follow him anyway, wouldn't we? So
yeah. There's no doubt about what he's saying. It's just
and
straight.
the nice thing for us is when we take clients on this trip and it's organised to perfection, or meticulously organised, you can say, well, that's what our operations are like.
I was just about to say, that's a reflection of your brand, isn't it?
Exactly
That's
that.
how you go about your work, even though that's not necessarily technology and science solutions.
Yeah, but it's when you've got 2 lads in the Royal Marines who are, have great admiration for David and the way he runs the trips, and everybody has got admiration for the way that David runs the trips. That's how we run our operations. It's just really, really well run, which gives us confidence. I can carry on with the sales and the marketing and whatever else. Santosh can focus on the technology, knowing that the back end is being run as well as a man who will be running a desert island.
It might be an obvious tee up almost, but like, how important is it to you to have your clients with you on that, spend more time with them? Imagine not always talking work, 'cause we've had a couple of hours here this morning, obviously you don't just sit and chat work.
Yeah.
Like, how important are those relationships to you? Because in some of the Q&A stuff that we've already done, like you mentioned, people, collaboration, they're obviously 2 big values, shall we say, of your business. How crucial is that to have them with you on those trips?
I think I've said about people are so important and the relationships that we have with our clients, but I think nobody builds them any stronger than Santosh.
That's what McDonald's does, is it?
Well, no, but you build relationships when you're on site with people, when you're talking technology with people in the demo room. People know that you are A, committed to solving their problems, and B, you know your onions.
I think, I think me coming from an engineering background, and I used to be on the tools. I used to go out to sites for installations, commissioning, support calls, etc., etc. So I look at product development or a solution delivery from that point of view, whether it's going to make engineers' life easy. Is it easy to maintain? Is it easy to install? And I think we take client feedback quite seriously. And when they say, okay, we are having this problem, can you change your product to swivel in this way or whatever? I think that helps to sort of make your product better, because end of the day they are the people who are going to be installing, maintaining. You might be better on cost, quality, or price, but I think engineers' approval, saying it's good kit, it's easy to maintain. I think that swings the sale or influences the sale.
And there's no better person to listen to than somebody who's actually on the job themselves, your end client. And if they're saying, well, a hook here, a bracket there, we're not so arrogant that we say we know best. We will know better than most because we're listening to them. And I think that again goes back to being an SME. We're small enough to be dexterous and listen and adapt and change. And you have got tremendous relationships with our clients, Santosh.
Is that where your R&D starts then, almost from the feedback? Or, for example, let's just take high speed, because obviously you're kind of reaching that market now. Do you sit and say, it might not be this formal, but do you sit and say, right, let's give the high speed market, it was always in our plan, let's create a product? Or do you feedback from clients straight away before you push this new market? Like, which way round does that start for you, if it is that straightforward?
Is it almost hand in hand? Because
it is a bit. We were always going to go into high speed. We had the capability to get into high speed. It was just a question of when are we going to build the first units. So we built the first unit. It's a prototype. You're talking to your clients and you're looking for someone to run a trial with. We were very fortunate to work with a very proactive client who then collaborated with Santosh for several weeks, or possibly even into months. And that iteration became the second prototype, then we're on the third prototype, and then you've got something that's absolutely nailed down and spot on. I think we're the only people who've met the spec, the current spec of the MS1s, which raised a few eyebrows at National Highways. Didn't it, Santosh?
Yeah, I mean, they were there's two specs basically or especially on the MS1 product. The newer spec is more relaxed. It's easier to meet. But the previous spec was a bit challenging in terms of weight limits or power inputs, etc., etc. So I think we could be the only ones who met that spec, because I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do like. I would like to take on more retrofit projects where you're only replacing bits of technology and not the whole system. It saves a lot of cost, but they can be challenging. So in terms of, because they could be systems which are 19 years old, 15 years old, you come across challenges which you wouldn't know or anticipate. The MS1, we've sort of taken that approach where, making it easy to swap on existing infrastructure. So you don't need to change packets, you don't need to change power or data infrastructure. Just take the old sign down, put a new one of ours, plug it in, and it should work. So from that point of view, I think meeting the old spec was a challenge, which we managed to crack.
I think it's delivering value. Ultimately to most often taxpayers, isn't it? We've got good MTBFs, but if you can reduce the install time, the install costs, it's safer for the highways engineers, less TM, less delays for road users, and then the clients have got a lot less costs involved in making these swap outs, which then gets new technology onto the networks, and there's savings to be had and efficiency to be gained. So that's what we're aiming to do.
It's funny really, because you've obviously got a product line that ultimately is a safety product line, safety related product line, but you're very much a tech company. People and collaboration sort of in amongst your values. I guess safety's got to fall into those values as well, because that's the very nature of what you do. Is that something that has to sit above everything else, safety? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that is what you're delivering. Like, would you build a product with safety in mind, or do you build it with like technological capability in mind? The two maybe just go hand in hand. I don't know if I'm talking waffle here.
Well, no.
I was talking to the sales team the other week. My number one priority is my employees' welfare. So after that, we'd like to sell more signs and have more fun and whatever else, but it's always employee welfare is the most important thing, whether it's health and safety or Pilates or whatever else, mental welfare. Ultimately, we know our product range, whether it's on the stock sign side of the business or the Messagemaker side of the business, helps them improve health and safety in the workplace or on the highways. So yeah, it's always at the forefront of our mind.
It's almost like, I think in a way, we understand technology, we look at technology and look at what's the best technology or what's the most suited technology to deliver a solution to deliver safety towards the end.
And how big is your team now? How many people alongside yourself on the tech side of things? Is that a fairly lean team or a big team that will sit and bring these sort of new?
Well, there's about 30 of us down in Redhill, so
oh, really?
So a reasonable sized team. I think just to go back on the technology side of things and the safety, one thing that all the local authorities and the highways.
Sorry, stop me. Thank you.
I made a right pigs here of asking about safety. Oh, like,
No. I think.
See, you got your job title wrong. I got my actual job wrong.
I think safety on the highways. The best thing we can do is keep the engineers off the roads. So if the install is swift, if the MTBF is long and they don't have to go back to it, that's important. So the new MS1 is a really quick install, very, very simple bit of commissioning. But again, if it's easy to operate, easy to maintain, That's our biggest factor, keeping lads and ladies off those highways and keeping the TM in the yards rather than out on those lanes.
Yeah, I think everything we do in terms of the product, try to make it modular. So even if they have to do any repairs, we design it so that it's as quick as possible. Same going back to Danny's point, main thing is to keep engineers off the roads, and reduce the risk of any mishaps.
Which then ties into remote diagnostics, doesn't it?
Mm.
Which you could probably talk about, Santi.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of if we compare a few years ago or maybe a decade ago, you know when there's a fault, but now with the technology you can sort of diagnose faults before you even decide to go to site. So now the technology will tell you exactly where the fault is. If it's a faulty LED panel in the sign, it'll tell you exactly where that is. So people who are going to site go prepared. They know what spares to take, how many of them to take, what to do. They can pre-plan how they tackle the issue before getting to site. So in terms of monitoring, there's a lot of monitoring data which comes back from the signs now. So you're not guessing sort of, let's go there and see what's happened to that sign. You have a good idea about what might be wrong and how you go about fixing it.
So you can cut your operatives' exposure to danger down by people turning up knowing what's wrong, where it is, what they need to fix it, taking the right amount, and keeping people away from risk.
And also there'll be, in terms of maintenance, there'll be different teams, so many different people involved in maintaining of the equipment. You can't train them all to know the product and understand the product and look for what might go wrong. The monitoring data gives you that information. So anybody with with a little bit of training should be able to look at that data and say, okay, this tile needs changing, that control board needs changing, or power supply needs changing, or whatever. So from passing on knowledge to maintenance teams, that monitoring becomes a very useful tool.
If that's where you are now, like 9 years ago when you came in terms of capability and that kind of capability, how far was what you walked into from where you are now in that respect, from remote diagnostics and that amount of...
I think it's a good question, isn't it? We were doing some big projects even 8-9 years ago, several hundred signs going into Wales, which we're still working to this day, but a lot of them were sort of dumb signs, so you would have to go out and inspect them if there was a problem. To be fair, the key client actually said they're pretty bomb-proof, so we generally don't have problems. But yeah, the technology's moved on. I think one thing to perhaps mention is the way that we've integrated into our client systems. So that's happened with quite a few now, hasn't it?
The biggest challenge is you don't want people to now everybody wants a unified system. Say for example, a traffic management company might have traffic lights, some BMS trailers, some cameras or whatever. People often don't like that you have a separate system for the VMS signage, you have separate system for CCTVs, you have something else for there's too many things to go wrong and look at. So many clients look for a unified solution. So we help and support by making our signs integratable into existing systems or protocols. So it's basically making sure the end customer has ease of access and not learn a new system, or from a cost point of view, even to have a different system, that'll mean more licensing costs, more cloud server costs, etc. So we help customers to sort of integrate our signs into existing systems.
So you sit there and learn 25 other systems, so they only have to stick with one.
Something on those lines. Yeah.
And we understand that the signs are just at the very, very end of their overall operating system. And so we just want to make sure they get the right sign on time every time that functions and is compatible with their kit rather than the other way around. So that's our general aim, and it's worked well.
Do you want to take a break there? Because that's actually quite a nice, maybe have a tea, water.
Do you know what I think is things like a Liverpool, I'm obviously a United fan. He's a Liverpool fan, but that's the reason we don't get on.
Be careful.
The place is full of Liverpool fans at ours.
Is it? I've drifted away from football. I was a massive, as a kid, and I'm just nerdy me. Like, at one point I could have told you, like, Wimbledon's reserve left back was. I just loved it. And we used to have used to go to Man United as a season ticket holder, and I just loved it. I absolutely loved football. And the more I delved into rugby, the more I really fell out of love with what it sounds like really cheesy, but like what it had like become.
But football, I mean, you can just chat to everybody about football, can't you?
True.
It does connect everybody.
Yeah, it does.
But I think, like, you know, when Van Dijk wasn't playing for Liverpool, they were just a bit. They lost that sort of leader on the pitch, and you do need you need lots of leaders, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think I don't think United have got the right one in terms of Bruno Sanchez. You've got to have that person who's given that same message, haven't you? You think about Roy Keane and Ferguson. They were totally aligned.
Yeah.
So
that's what gets said. Do you watch a lot of podcasts or listen to a lot of podcasts?
I do. Yeah.
We sort of moved into this because I do. One of the best purchases I ever made was YouTube Premium, because my little boy would not sleep during the day or whatever, and I used to get home, my missus swim bits, I'd get him, put him in the pram, go out for a walk, put a podcast on, and if it were an hour and a half in the rain, it's fine, I'm listening to something I like.
yeah.
YouTube Premium without ads and being able to put your phone in standby and it keep playing was one of the best things. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and the Roy Keane stuff, it's like the standards seem to come above the playing ability. Like that's the message that keeps coming through. A lot of things, just like the standards of like what isn't acceptable in this place in order to succeed is what seems to be like the message over and over again.
Yeah.
In terms of like leadership.
I agree. I do agree. And you know, when I don't know if we're recording or not.
We are, but don't worry.
No. So
right.
it's just, you know, I used to work in bigger organisations where they've got 6 levels of sign-off. You know, like Kimberly-Clark, big American organisation, everything was absolutely, you know, you're protecting brands like Kleenex, Andrex, Huggies, things like that. And you go to smaller companies, and it's just not as tight and not as well run, which is where we were. And you want that freedom and flexibility, what we were talking about downstairs, but equally, you want to be really, really professional, because if you want to manage these, you know, win these big contracts, you've got to be absolutely nailed on. So that's probably the bigger challenge. And you want to be friendly. So, you know, you know, if somebody's 2 minutes late when they turn up at work, we don't want to be rebuking them. You want to, you know, understand why they happen to be late that day. But you know, you've got targets, you've got timescales you want to hit. So you want to be fairly. You do want to be disciplined, but you want to still maintain that sort of family feel. So it is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm not saying, man. I know I don't live off catchphrases, but like something that stuck with me once was you endorse what you ignore. So like you can't let it go, because then 2 minutes might become 5 minutes. Or 10 minutes. But at the same time, if someone's like 2 minutes late once and you're down their throat, you probably lose a bit of that, you know, family feel, if you like, because it's almost overblown. How do you manage those situations? Like, is it like you say? Do you explore if there's something like going on at home that's maybe not quite fitting with someone's life?
You want to be you know, in a small team like ours, which is 30 people, you want to understand what makes them tick, but you want it to come from within. You want them to succeed for the benefit of their colleagues and the business itself. It's not because they're, you know, ticking boxes. So we tend to maintain that family feel, but over the years we're driving more and more discipline into our business. Would you say that's fair, Santosh?
I think so. When I remember when I started, for me personally, and for many people downstairs working in the workshop, etc., there were barriers. I never had a conversation with the MD at that time. I mean, I said hello and stuff, but Not really. Like nowadays, anybody can come into Danny's office or my office, or chat about whatever. I think those barriers have disappeared for the good, I think.
And we were speaking about those treks and the challenges. I think if you're, on a Sunday morning, if you're 9,000 foot up Mount Olympus with a load of lads from the factory, there are no, you're strapped in with each other with your helmets on and everything else. There are no barriers. You've got to. You're talking about team building. You're in it together, aren't you?
I did mention to you earlier, and we just weren't recording at the time. But have you ever found? Oh, okay, we've taken this person on. Not quite sure if they're really going to fit now what we're looking for as a person who carry our same values of collaboration and respect and all those things that you mentioned earlier. Have you ever come across that? And then I guess part B is, if you have, like, how do you deal with that?
I think the way that you treat people the way you want to be treated, don't you? So we treat people fairly, and if it's clear that we've made a mistake in terms of recruitment, or somebody's not who they profess to be in the interview, we would deal with it fairly promptly. We've done that in the past. But you want to give people the best possible chance, but we do have a very thorough interview process. Santosh spoke about longevity. People, we have a fair few long servers, don't we?
Yeah, more long servers than short.
In your time then, 9 years for you and 13 years for you, what have been the biggest industry shifts that you've seen that you've maybe had to pivot and adapt to kind of fit the way the industry is going?
I think one thing that's come through is the whole ESG and the drive for reducing carbon. So we've made some huge changes in our building in terms of how we reduce our usage and even generate our own electricity through solar panels. But we've seen a fair bit, haven't we, in terms of signage, Santosh?
Yeah, I think when I started, having a low-powered sign was a nice-to-have thing. Now it's almost become one of the mandatory requirements to keep the power as low as possible. It makes sense because you're not wasting energy. Even low power, if your sign is low powered, the other side effect or benefit of having a low powered sign is all your cabling infrastructure becomes less. So you don't need chunkier cables, you don't need chunkier gantries or whatever. So basically, the whole low power and being able to achieve low power solutions is basically the industry has shifted and given it more focus. Now, I think on some specifications they say the power can't exceed this number. I think in the old days it used to be low power. Low power could be one of the benefits your product offers. Now it's almost a requirement.
It's pretty much where we started. We did a lot of signage which was on low speeds with solar powered units above it. So we all the things that you engineered are all about low power. And then as you move that into the VMS screens, we still maintain that low power. We benefit from not driving the LEDs as hard, like you talk about all the rest of the componentry. We benefit from really good MTBFs. And then when the likes of National Highways maybe 4 or 5 years ago announced their drive for reducing carbon, you're on the right path. And we think we're probably the lowest, our signs have got the lowest power usage, don't we?
Yeah, probably quite low. I mean, like I said before, for me, with the aim of solving a problem, there's many parish councils, they need speed signs which can run autonomously. They don't have budgets to put mains power. They want the kit to run on solar power or just battery power, where they don't want to go back to the sign every few weeks or few days. So to solve that problem, we sort of designed signs from component level, used all the components to reduce the power as much as we can. And then basically, once we had that product, which is now solved the problem for the parish councils, we've used the same technology, same learnings, and applied to bigger products. So from a component level, everything is sort of picked to be as power efficient as possible, which I don't think we planned it. It's almost this all was happened, and we're bearing the fruit of all the hard work we did.
And way back when, in probably 2019, we were recognised, or one of the tier ones recognised that, didn't they? And they challenged us to put a large VMS up on the SRN to be all powered by renewables. So that was a great project for us, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was the first time when a full matrix VMS site was powered using solar panels and wind turbines and battery setup. So it's still a pilot project, but it's been on for a few years now. There's no problems. Now they're confident that it was a project started as a can we actually run these things on renewable power sources? I think over the span of 2 years, it's come to a stage where yes, this could be a viable solution. Where network has dark areas where there's no power or data infrastructure. You just stick with your solar panels, battery cabinet, VMS, and obviously you got 4G and stuff for connectivity. So yeah, it's really a good step in the direction where you're not digging up roads or to lay new cables and stuff. You can just deploy a solution quite quickly, and for a fraction of the cost.
Is that particular project fully renewable then? Was that off full renewables?
Fully renewable,
Off grid.
Off grid.
So, and we're being stretched more and more. I mean, the huge motorway signs that we see out and about nowadays on the gantries, they're looking to see if they can make those renewable. We believe we can get those to be renewable powered as well. So again, where Santosh talks about dark areas of the network where you normally can't get comms in, National Highways and other authorities can actually get information to drivers without all the inconvenience of all the trenching, the TM. So we look to do pioneering projects of that nature.
Is that something that's been repeated so far then? Anything around 100%, sort of 100% renewables, or have you got anything similar to that, or was that a real unique situation and there were probably other...
No. These things take time to get off the ground, don't they? And so now they know about it, it's worked. I think it's sort of an iterative process, isn't it? I think, National Highways have got to be applauded. They've made their stance. They want to reduce their carbon emissions. They want to reduce that of their road users, their suppliers. So, we were already on that journey, but 5 or 6 years ago, we completely signed up to it. And, signage is just one part of that journey. We will endeavour to help them. And as Santosh said, we were a little bit lucky. We didn't plan our signs to be all about low power way back when. That's just how they were. But increasingly, it's becoming more and more important. And when people are selecting which sign they want a low power unit.
In terms of other, I guess in your tenure now as MD, that must be a pretty major project for you because it's got a lot of uniqueness about it. Are there others? Are there other kind of flagships that you're sort of really proud to have overseen in your time there?
There are a few challenges.
Are you laughing because you're humble and you don't want to reel off all your successes, or are you laughing because it's a daft question?
I think you correct me if I'm wrong, Santosh, we're on a bit of a journey. We're going from low speeds to high speed. We're bolted on a solid range of mobile VMS signs, which again, we were listening to how our clients wanted to use them, so we were quite innovative there. We've worked with a greater number of clients. We've put some really nice bits of kit out in terms of urban VMS, so in city centres. And I guess the high point of that would be the work we've done in London of late.
Yeah, a lot of TfL has a lot of aging equipment where they have the difficulty of sourcing spares or repairing them to keep them going. Obviously, the challenge is they just don't need a new VMS or a new LED digital signage product, but they want something which will integrate into their existing systems because their system is huge. They've got CCTV cameras, they've got barriers, they've got all sorts of stuff, air quality sensor, you name it. So the challenge is providing a signage solution which will integrate into their existing control system, which we managed to do. So from their point of view, they're not having to spend any money on doing anything on the control system side. We've taken that, understood that what protocols our signs need to follow, and then basically supplied them with signs, take the old signs down, stick a new one on, and they're good to go. We've supplied quite a few now, and there's more in the pipeline going into TFL.
How challenging is it when you look at a 19-year-old piece of software? I imagine it's like being handed a floppy disk with a Mac, and you're a bit like,
Well, that
okay.
takes you, that would take you to, talking about old bits of kit, that would take you to Cardiff, wouldn't it, Santosh?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the challenge is in the beginning stages. Once you understand, once you do your first, test run or prototype, then you're good to go. You basically repeating the same process again and again. But the first in the beginning, TFL was fine because there's documentation existed on the existing control system, the protocols and everything. It was very straightforward from that point of view. We did another project in Cardiff, a tidal flow lane control system. Same thing again, probably 19 years old or something like that when the original legacy system was put in. Just the lack of documentation. So it was a bit of, you make your prototype, you do trial and error, take it to the gantry, stick it up, whether it works, doesn't work, take it down, do some more changes, arrange another day, put it back up. So it depends on whether there is enough documentation or not. If there is enough documentation, you can quite easily do the integration. So I think the most challenging or flagship project for me personally would be that tidal flow lane control science project we did for Cardiff City Council. It was an epic one. But got there in the end. They're working.
What's the most? Is that the most difficult?
It was the most difficult from a technical standpoint.
Right. Okay. That's what I'm going to come on to, the trickiest.
And I don't think anybody else would touch it. So you did say in your intro you like a challenge, Santosh, and that was an epic, wasn't it? So
it's again going back to my thing about solving problems, isn't it? So they had a problem. We provided a solution which was economically much more
it was viable, wasn't it? They didn't have to rip all the kit out, did they?
So you either try to find a solution for that problem, or you just take out the whole control system, start from scratch. The difference in costings would have been huge.
I think it probably mirrors the MS1. The old spec of the MS1 would deem it incredibly difficult to make it viable with current materials, but Santosh had a belief that it could be done, and when lots of other people were saying it couldn't be done, he found a way of making it work. And there was a lot of collaboration with one of our clients who helped us trial it as well, and we had some really successful trials. And we're now rolling out an MS1 that's compliant with old and new regulations. But it's having that belief that you can overcome a problem is why Santosh is so precious to our business.
How difficult is it, and I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, so forgive me, how difficult is it if you have that belief and potentially you find out, we might not have gone the right way on this, how difficult is it to, say, scrap it and change course rather than clinging to that, no, I think this is how I sit. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that difficult to sometimes back out, or have you never had to because you're so good? There's something that's sprung to mind. I think if you're gonna work on people engage with us because we've got good kit and we're collaborative. But if you're going to engage in a project, you want someone like Santosh on your team, and you work with the Network Rail team on a really tricky project, and it was your positivity and a lot of collaboration that meant it got over the line in the end. And it was finding a way to succeed rather than finding reasons why it couldn't work. And that's rolled out. Josh was at an awards do last week. Can't believe we didn't win, but that product's been being rolled out now. Started many years ago, but again, you drove that with our end client, didn't you, Santosh?
Yeah, I mean, luckily we never ended up in a situation where I started on a path and said, oh, scrap, we have to completely shift course. But luckily I had the freedom and the backing from, Danny and others to sort of, I said, oh, maybe I should tweak it a little bit.
That's not a bad effort in 13 years, that is it, to never have felt like you've set off the wrong way.
Yeah, I think
I've done it here plenty of times.
There's a bit of steering and get it back on track, but it's usually more costs and things like that, which I get a lot of support saying, okay, that's fine, you wasted so much money on these connectors or something, it's fine, just try a different connector, but not gone completely off track so far, luckily.
As a bit of a summary of your in terms of, you mentioned a little bit about the type of projects, the sort of smaller, more local road type stuff, right up to now, looking at, high-speed road network and all the rest of it. That's quite a big journey. What is next for you? Like, we're February now. What does 2025 look like for you? And I guess from, both of you sort of leading this business, what do the next couple of years look like? If it's not confidential, obviously.
I think it's real mountains and metaphorical mountains. So we're going to carry on climbing mountains. We're off to the Pyrenees this year to 24 of us are going to climb a whopper up there. But I think we are on a journey. We will do bigger and bigger projects, whether it's with London or elsewhere around the country. We hope and expect to get onto the high-speed network, so we can, continue the journey that Messagemaker is on.
Yeah, I think apart from that, just keeping that family feeling in the company, making sure everybody is happy to come to work. I think that is Danny's job more. But for me, I think we just want to provide solutions and products which will give real benefit in the real world, and make sure whatever we provide lasts for a long time. We just don't want to sell something and just for making a profit, but we want the solution to work. We're quite nerdy in terms of keep staring at signs and feel quite happy that that was sign, I worked on that sign or something like that.
I'm going to say, do you do that thing to your other house? I can drive on the motorway, and we'll be in the car together, me and my girlfriend. I can be like, I've worked with them, and it's a VMS or a barrier or something, and I can see she doesn't care, but.
Well, you've got a few years of pointing out diggers to Jackson. I dig it, and then eventually, after a while, you realise he doesn't want to know about it. But you've got two daughters, Santosh, haven't you? So you probably don't get to point out diggers quite as much.
No, but
trains and diggers.
That's it. My wife is already saying, before we get to a sign where I've told her 100 times that.
Don't tell me.
Said, yeah, I know. As you said, don't even mention.
Yeah.
I guess on sort of similar to like what's upcoming for you, the podcast series is The Extra Mile. What does that mean to you, or what does going the extra mile mean, I guess, to you personally, and how that then reflects through your business?
I think our mantra is delivering exceptional personal service, and we've had that for many years, and it'll continue and on. I think that's what it is. The success of our business is delivering that personal service all the time, every time. So you can buy signs from who you want. They may or may not integrate. You can get qualities of different sorts, but that's a pretty poor answer, actually, isn't it? I think I might have to half rewind. But I think the answer for us is going the extra mile. And of all the things to have a disaster on, the thing for us.
You said downstairs.
Do you want this? Do you want this, Santosh?
Well, we can chop anyway. So
we like an outtake. Well, the most important thing is that the beatings will continue until morale improves. Well, no. I think for us, it's about delivering exceptional personal service. It's been our mantra for years. We believe that we've got really, really good quality kit, but if you want it integrated into your systems, we're going to have to listen, you have to collaborate, and we will always go the extra mile. And I think Santos is the antipathy, if that's the right word, of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been. Maybe I should be in customer service. I always, I will always, listen to the customer, and I have a great deal of time for, solving customers' problems. So I think everybody should be like that. But listening to customers. I'll at least me personally, I'll do everything I can to sort of solve a problem and listen to customers, make them they're getting the best out of their investment.
Amazing. Happy to call it there, unless there's anything you want to.
That's good.
Have a little 10-minute debrief on something that might come up, because cameras are still rolling, so
I'm going to give myself the fact that we only fluffed that last question is not too bad. And then to remember Network Rail was quite good. Throw that one in.
Yeah. You wanted to say good quality kit and exceptional personal service, did you? You said something downstairs which was quite catchy.
A great place to work. So,
great place
I think we've touched on all the things that we bang on about. Ultimately, when we do get people into our demo room, there's one of our sales lad, Josh. It's like a pantomime. You get people in, you make the cup of tea, then you do the presentation, then you show them all around the showroom with all the different products. Then you go downstairs, then you show them these are the spares. Look, there's dust on their boxes. We can't sell spares because we don't need spares. Then they go into the factory, and then you show them this, you show them that. Then you go back upstairs, ask any questions, and then send them on the way. And we do the same jokes all the way down. And ultimately,
is that exactly the box of spares has now got a few lines of dust in it from when someone comes and chops on it.
And then we do that, and then but then on the back stairs we've got some old images of the projects that we've done in the past, and we say we want to work with these people, we don't really want to work with those people, and so it's just, and ultimately what we've done today is probably shared the same stories that we would normally do on a day at our place. So, and ultimately you get the message, and I think storytelling's half the battle, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I think you get a flavour of what he's all about, what we're about. So I think it's been a
from when I from first speaking to Danielle, I think she said to me, Josh is not camera shy.
Yeah.
And when it comes to it, she said, Josh, trust me, Josh is not camera shy. Yeah. And obviously, he was going to come today before stricken with illness, sort of out of our numbers. But yeah, I've sort of been I wouldn't say looking, but half looking for it.
Well, no, he looks a bit of limelight, doesn't he?
Yeah. You'll need extra reels.
Yeah.
Josh comes in.
Yeah. No, and they're fantastic, those two, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Daniela's wise, and she's obviously one of the management team, just to really, you've heard us speak about Dave Clode, who's a really good guy, and then you've got Daniela's she's wise.
Yeah,
she's wise, isn't she?
Did Josh used to make vlogs or something on Instagram or something? He used to post videos every day or something.
Did he?
For a bit, yeah, didn't he?
I don't know. I thought that was one of the other ones.
I'm still shying from that, mate. This is where I'll kind of get on camera because I feel comfortable. I'm not looking at one.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been really trying to just be a bit more active on LinkedIn this year about what we're doing and who we're with, without being too, we're great. But just we've been here with these people. What they're doing is great. But I stay away from that very last photo where I'm in it as well. The project or wherever we are. Is great. I haven't quite got that last little bit of Josh confidence yet. That's.
I think the one thing we found on LinkedIn is that people, the posts that get the most interest are people. So we
massively are.
We might have the best signs in one of the best sets of signs in the country, but ultimately, if we put pictures of our pets on, that's going to get more viewings than even our beloved MS1 Santos, isn't it?
True.
But that's the type of stuff when I was saying to you about people saying, social media is a bit of a gimmick, blah 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 blah. Amazing what your brand gets attributed to, and if it's stuff that people like by association they like you, and it's nothing to do with your signs, with the greatest of respect, but it's not. If it's CSR as a value or ESG as a value or pets or bring your dog to work day or whatever that may be, that is what sort of turns people onto you because they sort of associate with your value. I read something a few months ago now. It was more about like business to consumer stuff, but it said like, I think it was about 70 or 80% of purchasers, or there's a 70, I've butchered this stat, but it was something about people now more than ever looking to buy products from companies that match their values, regardless of whether what they do is more expensive or in certain cases even subpar, dare I say. Like, I don't know how you work that metric out, but yeah, like buying from people with the same values that you hold, as opposed to just, oh, that's cheaper, or there's a deal on, or whatever. And like people will go for something that they think like fits with them as a person rather than what's best for their pocket.
But how do you differentiate it? I mean, we have a bit of a joke about it. When I first started and Santosh was explaining to me about control boards and LEDs, I said, Santosh, it's a box with lights. And it's a very clever box with lights, and it's a very well built box with lights. But to differentiate that from other people's box with lights, you've got to show knowledge, show interest in what they've got to do. But ultimately, they do go back to what you said downstairs. It's about buying off people, isn't it? And have they got the same sort, like you say, same sorts of values? That's why we've budded up with some really good clients. We said it, and again, this isn't on there, obviously, but I was at an ITS event, or we were hosting an ITS event, and we said, look, you know, we can work to contracts this thick, but we don't really want to. We'll adhere to all the requirements, we don't want to. The minute you start whipping out your contract, we've all got a bit of a problem. We're going to work together on these things. So yeah, we don't want to play to contracts too often. We want to be friendly. So yeah. Well, before we say anything incriminating, Santosh, like let's steal their biscuits.
Yeah, that's it.
But remember, nothing's going to be anywhere without you seeing it.
That's fine. Daniela's very practical. So I think, so in terms of all the editing, all that, go through Daniela in the main. She gets it completely, and
your Q&A stuff will be first. It's quicker. It's quicker and easier, to be brutally honest, because it's straightforward. We'll send them over and just make sure there's nothing in it that you hate. Realistically, I don't think there will be, but you still obviously get a final feed. So you know, if you don't want your wife to know you left her out with 3 things you can't live without, then you're you can chop. I mean, I hope she's got a good sense of humour actually, because as an outtake saying, "Oh shit, I forgot my wife," it's actually quite a nice little, quite a nice little clip. But and then when it comes to like wider episode, it'll be a little bit longer, but
it's fine.
It won't be ages and ages. But I guess once I send it to Daniela, how much she involves you two on that.
Oh no, we trust her implicitly. So I think she can she can front it up, have all the, go backward and forward, and then she'll just say, right, this is it. Are you happy with it? She's far more intelligent than us, isn't she, Santosh?
Definitely.
Certainly on those sorts of things. So no, it's good, brilliant. Well, listen, we've had a really enjoyable to meet you both. Really impressed with this setup.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Are we still rolling? Because I'll nick this.
No, we've really enjoyed it, mate. And you know,
but likewise, like I say, I'm sure that we've probably. I do really think we've shook hands briefly, but I've never really had a opportunity to have a proper chat with you. But
brilliant, love it.
I really enjoyed it. And you are the first ones here. First podcast in the new place. So you've christened us.
It's humbling. Wonderful. This is so cool. This office, isn't it?
You've christened. But as we go, you know, the plan is that in 12 months or whatever, come back, see us again, see how the last year's gone. You've got just like reference points for conversation and you know, things that have changed and you know, obviously I say scraping around, but scraping around for not repeating the same stuff might be a bit of a challenge for us. But even if it's
but we know people who like this sort of stuff as well, don't we? So we'll probably hopefully we'll give you some referrals. We warble onto enough people, don't we? Well, I do anyway. Whether it's Unix or Clearview,
if anyone's dropping us a line citing the fact you've spoken kindly of us, we'll make sure that doesn't go.
Well, no, can we all just everyone helps? That's the nice thing. We get so many people help us, don't we? So